Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the After Action Report. We are very, very happy to have you with us this evening. And another person who is very happy that you are with us is Admiral Tater's Ship Shop. They are graciously sponsoring the show for the absolute best, top-notch accessories for your Armada game. This is the place to go. He has just started making some cardboard for ships now, so if you need that, that is a way to go. He also has some fantastic obstacles, so that is something that you may want to check out. But I want to thank you. This is going to be a really, really great show this evening. I want to let you guys know that this week we are not having a lot of our normal shows like Mid-Rim Mayhem and the Swoder Adventures you already missed, just because I have the late shift at work. This just happened to be my night off, so I was able to get everything lined up for this great show. And we are very, very happy to have a very special group of guests here. First off, we have Doty, who is Armada Legacy and Nexus Director, also creator of Starforge and a competitive GAR player, which takes a lot of effort there.
Yeah, one of the five is the joke.
For next.
Then we have Mack, part of the art team. Very happy to have you here, despite the fact that you whooped me horribly when we met in Worlds.
Happens, don't worry about it.
And finally, we have stevespam, the community organizer for Tri-State Armada, which Tri-State Armada might be a bit of a misnomer these days, correct?
Kind of, yeah. I'm one of the community organizers. We're a big group. I am definitely not the only one. I'm just the loudest. I like to joke that I live up to my nickname. But yeah, no, it's the increasingly inaptly named Tri-State Armada. We thought of it as a joke when we were just 6 guys, and now we're about 250.
And
so,
what areas does that cover there?
We mostly deal with the New York Metro and Philadelphia Metro area, but we're starting to kind of creep into Massachusetts. We have a bunch of Massachusetts players and people from New England, so we're looking at maybe doing some games in Boston, organizing stuff up there. We're pretty diverse and pretty spread out, and it's worked for us so far. So, yeah.
Well, again, I want to thank you guys for joining me tonight. With AMG out of the picture now, it kind of leaves a lot of questions about where we are going with Armada and how we keep people interested and keep new players into the game. So I thought I'd start with that question, and I'm just going to start in the order that I've got you on my screen here. So, Doty, what are your ideas on this?
So I'll answer in 2 parts: my personal idea and then like an organizational idea. So me personally, it's about letting people get into the game as easy as possible, especially when production is gone. Being able to, print stuff off online or get access to like resources from vendors. If it doesn't matter how cool, if you play at a local game store and, I always bring an SSD because people will look at it. That's usually the move. Doesn't matter how cool it is. If people are like, oh, how can I play this game? And you're just like, well, it got canceled and, you have to go to like all these different places. It usually can, kind of scare them off. Organizationally, Legacy and myself and all the other people involved have been trying to put together like all the resources to, help new people get into the game. So like 3D printed everything, print and play on Starforge, so you can just print off your list. So that's kind of the big thing for me. People can't get stuff. How can they play? There's only so much stock out there, and yeah, people sell off the stuff that's been sitting on their shelf for forever, but eventually that'll run out. And then what do you do? So, yeah.
Not to mention how expensive the secondary market has become.
Oh, no kidding.
$300 vendors are totally okay. Don't worry about it. It's fine.
Yeah.
So what about you, Mac? What are your thoughts and suggestions?
For sure. Yeah, I've got an answer that's far less eloquent than Doty's and far more simple. And for me, it's playing the game. I know it sounds like a simple thing, but like he was saying, just going out to your game store and playing, making sure that there's a community around you who plays Armada only works if you're there playing Armada. And that's the big thing I think we've all seen kind of ebb and flow after AMG took over is AMG took over, nothing happened, events kind of stopped getting the sponsorship and the push that they used to get in the old FFG days, and things just kind of became crickets. But now with the community kind of jumping in and taking on those kinds of roles and pushing for support and people going out and playing, people are talking about Armada again. For the first time, we've had veterans coming back to the game instead of leaving the game, or new players popping up out of nowhere. So as long as people just keep playing and going to events and just being part of the community, that's what's going to keep it going.
Now, Steve Spam, you've actually already had some success in growing the community. So tell us what you're doing there.
So we started out as just 6 guys, and we ironically named ourselves Tri-State Armada, even though we were just playing at a shop in New Jersey. And then we just sort of started spreading out. Early on, I realized that what we could do is we could spread out into a lot of local discords and stuff like that for game stores and things. Find out the local players, identify those people that were out there, and really make them the sales pitch to come in and play as part of a larger organization. And that really helped me. As we've gotten bigger, we've spread further and further until, we realized that it wasn't really just about playing the game. It was also about being able to organize local events and making your voice heard. So one of the big things that I did really early was I started really trumpeting that we were playing all over the place. So I'd go on to, the hub, and I'd say, hey, we have a tournament that's coming up, or we have an event that's coming up, or we have a local gathering that's coming up, or that I go on to like all the different Facebook pages. I'm kind of, I guess, known for being in a lot of different discords. There's a lot of reasons for that, but that all started with the local discords around me, where what I started doing was getting into a lot of those local discords and saying, hey, we're organizing events, we're having things, come over, come join us, come join in our Discord, come be part of us. And, I posted it on Reddit, I posted it on Facebook, I posted it on all the local Facebook pages that were even in the regional area. And we slowly had this continuous trickle of players that would come in after each of these events. After I posted about them, we'd get a few more players. Over time, we'd just get more and more and more. That was great while the game was still being supported. As things have progressed with AMG sort of being very inattentive and stuff being hard to find, and now, of course, they've basically stopped support of the game, we've started working with a lot of our really dedicated players to organize local groups of printers. And we have a whole printer group, and it's spread out all across the tri-state area, right? But really that includes Philadelphia, New Jersey, Connecticut, and they all come together, and we offer that as a service to the people who are in our Discord. If someone wants to get something printed, we say, hey, we're available, let us know. It's going to take time. We're not going to be like some professional group. This is all volunteer. But let us know exactly what you want, and we have access to all these files. We have access to all these models. We can print that stuff out to you, and if you're willing to wait for it, we can get it to you. It might take 3 months, but we can get it to you. And that's what's been really great. And what I think has been really wonderful about that is it's set up a virtuous cycle, because we can charge for production costs, right? So materials, right? So we have our printers, they kind of keep track of how much it costs for them to print out a ship or print out a token or something like that, right? So we have like that cost. And then on top of that, we might charge $1 or $2, just like as a donation. And that all goes into our coffers, and that goes into a fund that we can then use to buy, say, packs of upgrade cards from printers like, what's his name? Chris MCW, right? Over in the UK, who does amazing work, right? And then we can go and turn that around, and we can offer those as not even prizes, but just giveaways to new players that come to our events. Our last event, we had a whole 3D printed CIS fleet that we gave out. And it was like a starter fleet. It wasn't everything, but it had the big stuff. It had hard cells. It had, munificence. It had everything that they needed to get started playing. It even had the cards, right? So that's something that we do. And so that creates a virtuous cycle where we have players that they see us, they I come, I do the same thing that you guys do, where I've got that big SSD behind me. Doesn't matter what I'm playing that day, I'm going to have that as my mascot, right? So I come, I bring that out, I have that there. People come up, they look at the game. It's got such great board presence. I have actual business cards with like a little QR code that they can scan and join right there on the spot. And if they're interested, they can do that. I'm not the only one. We have some guys in Connecticut that do the same thing. And that's what we do to help grow it. And so you have those people that see that, they have the interest, and they say, yeah, we can set you up, we can help you, we can give you that materials, we can give you those supplies. And then that helps to fund the next round of people. And so it becomes that virtuous cycle of more people come in, they get access to the materials, they want to print their own stuff. We help them out with that. We use that to get more cards and more materials for the next group of players that see them playing. And so again, that's how you grow the game. And I've talked probably way longer.
No, that it's good information. It is very, very good stuff. In fact, you've given me a couple of ideas to help grow my channel, so I'm greatly appreciative of that too. But it does lead me to the question. You kind of threw some of the ideas out there, and I throw this out to everybody. We want to keep events going because events keep people interested. But events also require prize support. And so what do you think is the kind of prize support that not only appeals to newer players, to bring them in the game and keep them coming back, but also to keep the older players interested? And I will let anybody jump in.
I'll let someone else talk for a while.
Sure, I'll take a crack at it. We were actually just talking about this with the ARC team as well as a bunch of other folks, because it's a big question. When you go to an event, you probably have an exactly different kind of expectation as the next person who goes to the event and the next person who goes to the event. Because some people just want to play. Like, I know myself, I couldn't care less about prizes. Like, I go to Worlds to hang out with people, to play, to, have that Armada experience. Whereas some people, they love medals and trophies and these cool things that sit on your shelf, but I think they collect dust. But at the end of the day, it's ideal if you can have something that kind of offers a little bit of everything. So if you can do participation prizes, or like maybe those little tater shield dials or those tokens, just a little something to make people feel like they're appreciated, that always goes a huge way. And then if you have some kind of a trophy or a ship or some kind of, maybe even it's a store credit or whatever, to kind of offer as a prize, it gives people kind of that, not a reason to compete, but something to strive towards per se. And if you can come up with kind of cool door prizes, or maybe like a wooden spoon or a best painted, the best thing you can do is just have that variety of substance so that everyone who comes feels involved in the process.
What do you think, Doty?
Yeah, I'll concur on that. And generally, I've found, at least locally, I'm a TO in the Texas area. I've generally found that people respond the best to door prizes. The big trophy is cool, but if you hand out, a bunch of squadrons and cards and, everything to everyone that shows up, usually people are pretty happy, and they tend to come back. So, this could be anything. Newer players have a very different, need than an older player. An older player, they may have one of everything already. So a 3D printed ship or something like that doesn't really appeal to them. Whereas a brand new player, if they don't have a Munificent or a Providence or something, and you're like, all right, I have this cool Providence model as a prize, they're like, I want one of those. Like, I need that in my fleet. So you kind of have to tailor it to your local community a bit. And like Mack said, everyone has a different vision on what they would want. So just ask. I'm pretty sure if you ask your locals, they'll tell you what they want. They may be, hand over fist being like, I want this thing. And then, So yeah, you have to tailor it a little bit. It's not going to be the same for every person, every group, but generally door prizes are pretty good.
Yeah, I definitely agree with everything that's been said. One thing I try to do for the more experienced players that pretty much have everything they need is I try and offer them alternate sculpts. So you might get the Cantwell class instead of an ISD, an interdictor, or you might get some other, like a Secutor or something like that, so that they have something different that they can bring to the next game, or something that they can work on and paint. I love the idea of having a painting prize. I think it's a wonderful idea too. We also, one thing we got from when we bought our last round of cards right before last year's Worlds is we got a bunch of holographic cards and stuff like that, and we got the foil card. So it's something that's a little bit different. It's not only just like an alt art, but it has like a little bit more pizzazz to it. I think that's nice. One thing that's been really nice for me is I've reached out to so many different discords that, I talk with all these different TOs and I talk with all these people that are all around the world, and they always have amazing ideas for different stuff. So, we always do a lot of exchanges. I've been shipping stuff between myself and one of the guys over in Switzerland. Uh, Shout out to Helldozer. But yeah, and he's been doing great stuff. He's been sending me great stuff. I sent him some stuff. And it's always great to have that exchange of ideas and exchange of different little prizes and things like that. Like one of the things we're going to be doing is we have these great little dice keychains that Helldozer sent me, and so we're going to be handing those out, and that's going to be something that I keep on my keychain thing, and that's something that's nice for a more experienced player. And we're going to be giving those out. So if someone manages to make it to all of the different East Coast Championship qualifiers, then they'll get one of those little keychain things as a little prize for them. Just something nice to give out, and it's great. I think the communication and the ability to exchange ideas and exchange stuff and materials. One of the things I've really maintained is that we need to be able to bring everyone together and be able to have everyone talking at the same time and exchanging ideas with everyone else. And I think because we're such a small community, but we're such a dedicated community too, that goes such a long way.
I really, really loved the fact that you were mentioning the series of events, and I feel like in Texas too, Doty, you guys have had a series of events, and I'm just kind of curious as to how you go about putting together a series rather than just a standalone event.
So for us, the first step was communicating with all the different groups. So I reached out to Nova Team and I said, hey, listen, I think this is something that we could do as our bigger regional thing, which was funny because I felt like we wanted to go with events that were drivable, where everyone could participate by driving to at least one of the locations and having some central point as a championship where everyone could reach if they really needed to, which I feel bad because we didn't reach out to like South Carolina or Georgia, and now they're kind of ticked at me because I chose, I guess, well, they're ticked because we chose East Coast Championship, and they were like, well, we're part of the East Coast too. So we'll see. Maybe over the years we could expand a little bit further down south. But
yeah, I'm gonna have to drive north now.
If you're gonna do East Coast Championship, you gotta grab Newfoundland too. You gotta grab Newfoundland if you're doing the East Coast Championship.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, we'll figure something out for Canadians. I don't know. At some point, maybe Montreal.
But
It's
kind of like the ocean. It's fine.
Close enough. Yeah, it's the Great Lake, right? Yeah,
Carpool Armada.
Yeah, all right.
But okay, man. That's the reason North America exists. It's fine.
Yeah. So we tried to pick something where there would be a centralized location where everyone would be able to reach from all the different qualifier areas. And then we got guys now that are flying up from Florida to go participate, which is crazy. But go figure. Hey. But that's great.
I feel like when you've got people will come. If you've already got a base, then more will travel to be there. Is that the same kind of thing that you guys have done, Doty?
Yeah, so Alan had put together the Texas series a little while back, actually right when I just started playing competitively. And so the plan was, Austin's kind of in the middle of Texas. Everything's in a 4-ish hour drive unless you're in El Paso, and that's longer. Texas is big, so even just in Texas, it's it could be quite a drive. But yeah, basically we just have a spreadsheet that tracks how people place in every event, and if you're in the top cut in an event, you get invited to the Texas Open Championship, which should be this December, I think. And I'm probably going to be running that one because I don't think Alan can make it. So, just host events, advertise them, let people know.
Do you have anything like that in your neck of the woods, Mack?
So we did, and then we didn't. It's tough. So Canada, after AMG did whatever you want to call that, we lost a lot of our players. And so we had an event series that used to be in Calgary, and then we had more of a nationwide one where we had our East Coast and our West Coast, and they kind of cooperated. And then we had an Ontario league. And so all these leagues popped up, and they did some really, really cool stuff. But then the leagues kind of just became, hey, let's drive south and south because they have people and we don't. So I play in the Seattle League. sometimes. That's what we get.
I think the Pacific Northwest is organizing their own bigger thing now, which will be nice.
Yeah, things are all popping up again, and so that's
Yep.
what that's the thing I was so excited about is those folks who I haven't seen in years are coming in like I'm running an event. It's like, oh, cool. Where have you
I,
been the last 3 years? But hey, whatever. Get
I
in
feel
here.
like I read something that Aluminum Falcon was talking about, and I can't remember exactly the details on that.
We decided
Might have
to,
been the Aussie event. I think they have a league or something, or maybe it was just Traz Tansman. Anyway, sorry.
no,
Uh,
yeah. I was gonna say we just decided to make ours where each event was a qualifier where we take the top three, and if someone wasn't able to make it, then it would just default to the next person in line, and so that would create an invitational where we'd have everyone with well, I think we're doing what 5 events and 1 online qualifier. We decided to do as well, just so that anyone who wasn't able to make any of those would still have a chance to compete if they felt like they could make it to Philly, and then that would give us a decent sized group of 18 players potentially to compete in the championship,
Now,
which
if they had already qualified, would it go to the next person down?
would default to the next
Yeah,
one. Yeah,
I
yeah.
figured. I just wanted to ask to be sure there.
Trying to keep it as simple as possible, especially because this is the first time we've ever tried to do anything like this. So, I like the idea of doing like almost like a tour kind of thing, where like I guess that's more of the Texas model, right? Where they kind of tour around to the different ones. That's kind of I like that idea, but I mean, hey, um, this is what we figured we could manage.
It
Now,
reminds me, there's a Blood Bowl fella who's doing essentially the world tour of Blood Bowl because they've got major events in like one in North America, one in a lot of the major European sectors. I think there's like 7, and he's traveling to each one. And he did like a GoFundMe or whatever, and he's like representing teams from everyone and doing all these like jersey swaps, and it's such an awesome thing. And we need it for Armada. That's the point of this ramble.
that would be awesome. Now, we've talked about resources and having ships and such available. My question is, of course, I do know that there are locations to get links to ships and such, STL files and everything. It's a little bit harder to find cardboard and cards from my perspective. So I was wondering if you guys had any advice for players looking for cardboard or
I think
cards.
that's a Doty thing.
Yeah. So there's a couple things. There's a guy in the Netherlands by the name of Wobble who makes a lot of 3D printed stuff. He makes some movement tools that Alan, one of our local TOs, really loves. And he, just has them for free on this Maker World, which it's like a 3D file sharing site. There's also some free tokens. So like basically 3D printed cardboard that you can just download off of there. I think he has every single ship in the game on there, plus the Legacy and Nexus stuff. So like there's already decent resources for that. For cards, depends on where you want them done. If you want them done from like a big printing house, there's websites like Make Playing Cards and things like that where you can upload files and send it off and they'll send you back a brick. As Steve mentioned, there's Chris in the UK who makes some awesome alt art cards. There's a couple vendors who are starting to offer like professionally printed cards, so to speak. But depends on the kind of volume. I mean, like Peter in Poland, he's been doing this for a long time. Has cards and cardboard. He could probably single-handedly produce everything anyone would need. That's the advantage of the Polish factory. So
Yeah, I've definitely ordered some stuff from him myself.
yeah, there's like Exclamation Studios, who's in the U.S. They also do cardboard. I mean, there's tons of places that do bits and pieces. At a certain point, it gets hard. Like I know there's Ben's Armada Emporium. I think he also does cards and he does some like 3D printed base tokens. There's bits and pieces everywhere. As far as like a big expansion, like you would buy in the store where it's ship, base, cards, cardboard, tokens. I don't really think there are people doing that yet. There might be, but it might be out of most people's budget range, especially if the ship is painted. And Yeah, it's just tricky because at a certain point you have to order enough cards to actually get the price per card like low enough that you're talking about like a couple hundreds or thousands of dollars in a card order, and that's like that's a pretty big upfront cost.
For the record, what I want to see and what I challenge one of the viewers to put together is a template system for creating cards so that you can put it together on your computer, throw it on a flash drive, and take it to your local Office Depot and have it printed out there.
Yeah,
That would be awesome.
Yeah, on Starforge, which I've been working on it for a long time. It's a newer list builder. I started working on it, when was that? Last October. One of the things I put together in it is actually, it's called a print and play feature. So basically in your list, when you build your list just like you would on like Ryan Kingston or Armada Fleet Designer or whatever. And if you click the print button, there's a little print and play cards option. And so this actually lets you print cards. So upgrade cards, objectives, squadrons for your whole list. It's like pre-formatted in a PDF. You can just click print. There's ships on there and also ship cardboard. So one of the things that we worked on pretty early on as the legacy team is we digitized and made new versions of all the ship cardboard. So there's like digital versions of every token, and you can print them off for free. No charge. Like, don't sell it. I have a big
no.
yeah, I have a big non-commercial disclaimer because I don't want to get got by the mouse. So don't sell it, but you can print off everything in the game for free on there.
And Dr. Blackwell and Rise Against are both saying yes, this is the way to go.
Yeah.
PSA crew's in the chat.
But we absolutely. I'm going to have to get a link to Starforge to throw up on our Discord just so that we can share that with folks that follow the 13th Fleet, because that is something that I think is absolutely vital to new players. Is sometimes they're not ready to make that commitment to spend the money to get the really high quality cards, and they want. Thank you, Rise Against. I will copy and paste that here in a little bit. Appreciate that. But one other thing that I want to ask your opinions on is something that I've had issues with, and that's that I have yet to see one uniform tournament reporting tool for Armada. Some people use Best Coast pairings, and you know what I'm getting at. How do you guys?
Is T4. Just use T4 until T5 comes out, but until then, use T4.
Yeah, that would be preferable, but not everybody does that. And so, how do we encourage the community to adopt one standard?
Just do it.
I have to give so much credit to Doty and the whole legacy team. Right around when AMG stopped really providing a lot of support, they did so much groundwork into finding and collecting and collating all of these resources onto the legacy Discord channel. And then I spent all of this time putting it into this giant spreadsheet with broken down by play materials and faction and everything like that. And then of course he just goes and releases a website, and I don't even use the damn spreadsheet anymore. So, it's incredible. The resources that Doty has provided for the community are amazing. The ability to just print out cards is phenomenal. The work that he's done with Wobble to create bases has really helped us from my perspective as a community organizer. And I have to say this really quick, by the way. I am just a big, loud voice. Like, I don't do any of the stuff. I don't make any ships. I'm not a printer. Like, that's just guys that have just stepped up in our community and are willing to take that time. Like, I'm in this group chat and I think to myself, oh my God, I feel like I'm abusing these people all the time. I'm like, hey, so I've got another guy that's ordered all this stuff. Is that okay, guys? I'm so sorry. And, we have this list that's like 50 things long now. It's like our current order sheet that we're working off of. The people and again, and all the local community organizers, I'm not the guy who goes out and runs the events. That's Jack. Jack does amazing work, all around New Jersey and Pennsylvania, or that's, Dennis up in Connecticut. And Rise and everyone. Rise, I'm so sorry, man. That's your nickname. I totally forget your actual name. But like, so many people. Like I literally we have a guy who just runs back and forth between like New Jersey and Philadelphia and drops off stuff at my doorstep so I can send it off to like, Poland. It's crazy. The amount of dedication that we found in our community just from a core group of players has been amazing. And so as a community organizer, I have to say like I just am a big voice, but like as a voice, if you're trying to organize a community, find those players that are really dedicated and really willing to put the time in and cherish them and really work with them and embrace them, and find that core group of people that's really willing to do that work. Because I know that Doty's got Wobble, right? Who does incredible amounts of work and just is constantly working on different designs for different ships and finding the ships that are out there that don't exist, that wouldn't exist for people to print out and play unless he was there doing that work. It's incredible. And so, the fact that Doty is willing to make a resource like Starforge, where anyone who comes into the game can immediately print out all the cards they need, and he's working on, T5, and that there's going to be like dice rollers and stuff like that. Well, I don't know, maybe there's not, but maybe I'm saying too much, is incredible and really helps out, and really just provides this sort of spinal column that you can build everything off of. Just the resources are incredible. And so thank you. Not a week goes by I don't go to Legacy, Armada Legacy, the website and stuff, and just use it to find a tool I can print.
Of course, I'm still seeing a lot of international events talked about, and I feel like Mack, your team has a lot to do with that, and I'm kind of wondering what goes into keeping the community going internationally.
For sure. I mean, as much as I or Ark or any one of us, Doty, Steve, whatever wants to take credit for it, it's just a community want to do stuff. It's crazy how big Europe's gotten into Armada lately. Like we've had shrinkage around the globe. I know we felt it in Canada. I know a lot of numbers have dropped in the States. But as an example, German Masters just happened. It had a crazy success. EU Masters is set up for November. If you haven't signed up, go sign up. I think they're already sitting at like 57 people, which is nuts. Like the fact that we have these numbers still is crazy, and it's these European communities making the effort to reach out to us and making the effort to reach out to each other and just kind of pushing it forward. So ARC has set up a kind of like a organized play phone book as well as the community phone book. So if you are looking for an event in your area, please go to the website. It's got a list of all the events that have signed up. There are more around the globe, and we're trying to compile them and get them all down. But if you are thinking of running an event, please go to our website, fill out the form. We'll pop it up there for you. We'll advertise for you. And if you're interested in tournament kits or any kind of tournament support, that's another thing we're happy to help out with as well.
So that actually leads to two questions that I want to throw out there. First off, to newer players who may be experiencing competitive play for the first time now that AMG is out of the picture, what would your words of advice be to them? And we'll start with Steve's and Spam.
What would the words of advice be for a new player that's looking to get into tournament play?
Yeah.
I would say, can I get your ship out is kind of the Bible that everyone says, right? I mean, that's like the go-to for just learning the basics. But one thing that we do is we try to organize, we do a weekly war college, which half the time I forget to do it, but we have like every week where we try and do, because Tri-State Armada is so spread out over such a wide area, we did a lot to try and incorporate online play and TTS into what we were doing so that, the people from Connecticut can play the people from Philadelphia. And so when there's a newer player, we have our learning channel. We do a weekly war college where we get newer players an opportunity to play with more experienced players just so they can learn the ropes and stuff like that. And I think that goes a long way towards helping teach players just the basics. And then on top of that, we are running new player-friendly tournaments, which we just had one just last weekend. I guess now 2 weekends ago, which had a really nice turnout. We had 14 players. We had a really nice mix of both new players and experienced players. It was a friendly tournament, so I don't think anyone came in there looking to be sharks. But it was really great having all of the newly released ARC material that people ended up getting really excited over and using, which was really fun. And we're going to be having another event next week, which is going to be like a legacy event that's going to be over in East Brunswick. That's going to be kind of fun to do. And so I think giving new players that opportunity to just sort of test the waters and to learn the basics and learn the ropes and learn what's the in and outs of all this stuff is really useful.
What do you
And
think, Mac?
the next person.
Yeah, everything you said was true. Once again, I've got weird advice for it, and it's to, I don't know if this is a family friendly show, but go get your ass kicked. Like, showing up to an event as a new player and getting steamrolled is the best way to learn the game. Just to like tell a little segue from my from my time. So I used to work for FFG a million years ago. I was part of the Armada team, and it was so funny because when we were doing internal testing, we had all these misconceptions about stuff. Like, for example, we thought slave turrets was going to be really good because it's cheap dice ad, and TRC was crap because spending tokens is bad. And obviously, we were very wrong. And when the game went into the public circuit, I had this unnecessary chip on my shoulder because I thought all these things, and then I went to an event, and that's where I met Yick, who's a famous Canadian, and I just got smeared time and time and time again. And that's when I learned how to play Armada, was because I lost over and over and over again. You don't learn anything from winning, so don't be scared to go to a tournament and get rolled. You'll have a great time, I swear.
Doty?
I would say play what you think is cool first. If you have a ship you like, don't worry about if it's good in the game. Don't worry about what the meta is. Play with that ship. That's probably the number one thing I would say, because, yeah, as Max said, in my first couple tournaments, I got rolled. I fell into the noob trap. I thought redundant shields was God's green. It was the greatest card ever. And I rolled up, and there were onagers, and I had a rough time. I was in the Salvokin days too, so that was fun. Yeah, play what you think is cool. It'll help you stick with it. There's a lot of really, really good players that have been playing this game a long time. And so if they beat you, don't feel bad about it. It's like, honestly, like Max said, you'll learn a lot, but also they tend to be really nice. All the negative people have kind of filtered out of the game, especially now that, it's officially canceled, that there aren't really that many naysayers or anything like that left. Everyone who's still playing is just, they love the game and they love the community. So, play what you think is cool. Just try something. It probably will suck, full disclosure, and that's okay. Just ask people and they'll help you improve. There's always people looking for a game at, 2:30 in the morning, and maybe their time, or it could be your time if you're in a different time zone. So just ask people, play online, help teach you, play locally. Always try to play locally if you can. Usually the local players will help you stick with it. Yeah, that's all I got.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, ultimately, really, it's going to be about forming a community of players and about being welcoming to all the people who come in, and that's what I try and do with the events that I set up. But honestly, I couldn't, again, like I said before, I couldn't get any of it done if it wasn't for the amazing tournament organizers that we have here that really go such a long way towards providing that kind of environment.
Well, that leads into another. Oh, go ahead.
I just wanted to kind of chill a little bit for online play. Like TTS, Vassal, if you want to get better at the game, you got to play. And you know what? There's nothing like playing at 2 a.m. on a random Tuesday because you have the time. So playing online is huge. Huge shout out to Endor. That's going to be happening any minute now. The signups, I think, end in a couple days, and then lists are due on the 25th. And that's arguably like the world's per se of online play. If you're interested, come and play. The cool thing is it has like a chocolate league. So even if you show up and you get a little bit rolled in the beginning, that's okay. You'll go into the fun league, not the dumb league, and then you'll get to have an awesome time playing with everyone else in the chocolate league, and it's a blast. So just get out there and play those games.
Yeah. The one thing I was going to add, maybe not advice for new players, but advice for old players. Please, if there's a brand new player, do not show up with your extremely refined, absolutely horrible to play against list in their first game. Back in, oh geez, I don't even know how many years this was ago. Before the flotilla cap was a thing, I went to the local game store with my dad, and my dad had played maybe 2 games of Armada. And he played against, I think his first game against a person that wasn't me, was like 7 flotillas or something and like a bunch of squads, and it was miserable. And he still to this day will not play with the flotilla because he's like, I just hate it. I hate it. I don't want to play with them. So he's a big triangle guy.
Hey, I
So
like my
he like,
triangles.
yeah,
That was
exactly.
the story that was a mistake that I made early on. I went to like just a new player, like a show up and play event, and I brought my SSD, and I was like, well, I have to go home quick. I'll just bring in this SSD fleet because that way I don't have a lot of actions to take, and so it'll be quick. And then I made the mistake of playing against a new player, and I just deleted their 3 ships in one activation, and I felt so bad about it. I think I got this horrible reputation as a seal clubber after that. So and I felt so apologetic, but I was like, I am so sorry. I have to go. I apologize for detonating your whole side of the board and leaving. And it happens sometimes, but you feel bad about it. So yeah, keep that in mind. Learn from my mistakes. Don't come with something insane that's just gonna roll 50,000 dice, make them feel like, what the hell am I doing, and then just leave. Don't be me. Be smarter.
If you're gonna put on a clinic, you got to at least teach them about it afterwards.
Yeah, and what Matt is saying is completely true. Negative play experiences are game killers, and I agree. And it sets a bad taste and a bad precedent. Someone comes in, they're bringing in a new fleet, they're trying out something new, and you come with this thing that rolls 13 dice, 15 accuracies, and shuts down all of their things that they're trying to do, and then they're just like, well, why was I even playing? And then you don't want to do that, you know.
So you've got somebody who's excited about the game, somebody who's played a few games, really, really loves what's going on, and is kind of a leader in the community. If he wants to start a new event, what advice would you give to somebody who's trying to set up an event?
I just don't want to talk.
In case somebody else wants to go first, I talk a lot, so feel free to jump in there.
All right. So if you're trying to set up a new event, first of all, if you're part of an existing Discord, I try and do a lot of polling to see what the interest is, right? So if there's something I'm setting up, the first thing I'll try and do is I'll just try to do like a show up and play event, right? Like a just play. I call them just play days, right? So that's a good way to sort of judge local interest, right? Is that you just come, you show up, you play. If that's being successful and you think you can do that on the regular, try and do that every month or every other month. And if you think you're getting enough interest, then at that point, maybe explore the idea with the store owner of doing something like, say, an actual tournament. And it doesn't have to be a huge tournament. It can just be something small. Do like a 2-round, just like a for fun tournament, where there's like a $15 buy-in, and maybe you get a little bit of store credit, and maybe you have like a nice 3D printed model as a prize or something like that, or just like buy one of those little tin cups that you can give out, just something nice for someone. After that, try and do some advertising, see who's interested in the larger area, see if there's people who will show up who will actually drive to an event. Like one of the things that I see is that we'll have people that'll drive for an hour or so. God knows how it is in Texas. I think everything is like 15 hours away from each other, right? I mean, yeah, pretty much, right? The roaring wasteland plains of middle America, right? I mean, everyone's got to drive everywhere to get anything, right? So I think we're blessed over on the East Coast where I am with having basically I can throw a pebble and hit a game store, which is great. They're almost in every single town that you go to. It's fantastic. It's just a wealth of riches in terms of games. So I'm probably playing on easy mode. For someone who's out somewhere where there isn't so much population density and stuff like that, it's going to be more challenging. You might have to really reach out further. That's one of the things that I try to do with getting into all the different Discords so that you can really bring people together. But I'm constantly amazed. There's like 2 different Arkansas Discords. Who would have ever thought that? It's incredible. And then half those guys are in Texas and half those guys are in Oklahoma, and they all talk to each other. And that's what's great about bringing everyone together. So once you have that local thing going, see if you can organize it, see if you can grow it, see if you can get new people out, see if you can get new people interested. And it's a great way. I found that for our local area, having like weekly meetups or monthly meetups doesn't work. I know in some other areas it does work. We tend to supplement a lot of what we do with online play or campaigns and stuff like that. And that's great for us. I would love to get more regular play and regular stores. And I know that one thing that can be challenging about putting up events is because the game is no longer being actively sold, you have to find venues that will support you. So that's what's great about us, again, is that we have a lot of local stores. And so you will find the local support if you try hard enough. But there are other venue options that are available. You can try using a VFW hall if you have someone who's a VFW member, or you could try using a local library. There are other types of venues that you can use. You're not going to get the visibility that you would ordinarily, but you can still just show up and play at most game stores. And as long as you're not obnoxious and you buy a few sodas, you know, your table presence is going to do the rest of the selling.
So that's what I wanted to kind of comment on. Is from a much lower level kind of viewpoint of it. Do what you want. At the end of the day, if you're trying to set up this whole thing and you're not having fun, you're going to burn out. So if you like monster trucks, or if you like insert alternate format, or if you just like base game or whatever it is, find the thing that you like, that you're passionate about, and just do that. Like, I can tell a story of, we had a X Planet. It was a game store in Mississauga for the long time where I used to live. We had a fellow who would come every Tuesday, every Thursday. He'd bring two fleets, two monster truck style fleets. This was back before monster truck was a thing. It was just like big ship hammer triangle fleets. And he would play Armada, and he would just be there, and he would just be playing, and somebody would play with him, and he would always be ready. And then 2 people came, and then 4 people came, and then 8 people came, and then Tuesdays and Thursdays were Armada night at that store for the rest of forever, and they ran tournaments every month. So just be there doing the thing you want to do, and it'll grow.
Doty?
I don't have much to add. They kind of covered all the points I was going to make. I would say, especially, if you're in an area and you're trying to get new players, if you have the stuff and you're willing to let people potentially touch some models, bring an extra fleet or two every time you go out. What I do is I have a core set box that's packed. It has a little more than just the core set, but I try to take it with me, pretty much every time I go, and it has an extra, fleet or two in it. And that way, if someone shows up, they see the models, because Armada has, some of the best table presence. I think, it might have been the Salt Lake Open last year. I remember the game just got canceled, and then they did an article on the Salt Lake Open, and 4 of the 5 pictures were Armada tables or something. It was hilarious. I was like, oh yeah, of course, the the game that just got canceled has the best media presence. People will stop and look at it, and when they come by and they ask, oh, what is this? I know there's X-Wing, which is all the squadrons that are bigger. What's this game? Talk to them about it. And if they have time and they're interested in playing, give them a little taste, hook them. It takes one turn, really. And people can kind of put the pieces together and see how the game works. And most of the time they stick around and they want to keep playing. Like Steve and Mack said, just play locally if you can. Build your local community up. When you want to, make something bigger, start small. Don't overdo it. It's hard coming from me as a person who likes to continually overdo everything. But maybe don't buy $100 of prizes if you're not going to recoup that investment. Maybe don't buy a giant, $100 3D printed ship if you maybe only 5 people will show up. That's okay. Not speaking from personal experience or anything by that statement. It may start small, and even in big cities, you'll find there are lots of players. They just may have forgotten about the game for a little bit, or they sold some of their stuff. Maybe they have Rebel Fleet still on their shelf somewhere, and they've just kind of not thought about Armada in a while. And you just being there, half the time they look at that and they go, oh, that game I used to play, maybe back in 2017 or 2018 or pre-COVID was probably the big point when a lot of people, kind of stopped. So just getting visibility out there can bring those people back. Like Mack has been saying, there are a couple people locally, they stopped playing for maybe 3-4 years. They got out of the game, or even a little longer. They got out of the game pre-COVID, and then now they're getting back in. And because they can 3D print stuff, or they can print it off for free, or they can buy things online, they have the ability to get new stuff, and kind of keeps them coming back. yeah, they kind of covered most of my points, but that's all I would say. Try to bring a little box. Maybe it has one ship and some extra dice in it, and just like play out a little bit of a turn with them if someone stops by and they're interested, and usually that'll get them wanting more. So
The first thing I do when someone walks over to the table is I ask them if they want to hold my SSD. I was going to say one thing I wanted to add is think about how you want to have everyone communicate within your group. Are you going to be going on a Discord or a Facebook page? I'm not a giant fan of the Facebook experience in general with how it is for organizing. I think all of us are kind of tend to be more on Discord. I love how you can organize a Discord server into a lot of different topical areas, right? So that was one of the things that we worked on for probably the first year or more, was just figuring out how we wanted our Discord to look and what sort of material we wanted to have on it and how it was going to support what we were doing. So if you go on the Tri-State Armada Discord, it's broken down into sort of general conversation topics, but then it's also got a whole section for, just discussing about, different fleet builds, about different 3D printing, like I called it the dry dock. Then there's a whole other section called, looking for game. And that's where it's also kind of turned into the more local discussion areas happen there, where like, the East Coast Pennsylvania, I don't think it's a thing. The Eastern Pennsylvania people can talk in their channel there. The Northern Connecticut and Southern Connecticut people can talk in their channels there. There's a Philly channel. And so there's that local conversation. Then there's a whole other section just for doing more campaign stuff, where we've got, a Corellian campaign, which I don't think has ever been used. Rebellion of the Rim and Sector Fleet, which I love playing. It's so much fun. And Jack, I apologize. I know I have to get my turn in for purchasing, but great version of the game to do. And so all of that stuff's broken down by different categories and sections, just so that we can have all that stuff there. And there's always something that's going to support the community and help provide the community with access to the resources that they need locally.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to have to really take a look at the organization of the 13th Fleet's Discord, because I don't think I have it specialized enough. And we do have some crossover chat that sometimes has to be adjusted. But I want to thank you guys for joining me this evening. It has been very, very enlightening, and I do want to give each of you an opportunity to give some closing thoughts. So we'll go ahead and start with you, Stephen.
Oh, because I haven't talked enough?
No, you haven't talked nearly enough. I want to, yeah.
So I guess in closing, what I'll say is, it's possible to grow the game even when it's not being supported by the publisher. It's possible to find people and bring them together, and unity is going to be so important. Armada players, we don't have the numbers that X-Wing players do. We're never going to be Warhammer, right? We're going to be what we are, which is, monocled admirals holding martinis on the bridge of a ship going forward, right? As we carefully consider the next move. It's that's us, right? That's Armada. But the key is going to be forming the greater community, spreading out, getting into touch with different people. There's so many Armada players that are out there that are just, I call them orphaned Armada players. They don't have a home to go to. They don't have a group to play with. And there's other players there. They're all there. They're all out there. I guarantee you, if you're in North Carolina, in Raleigh, there's like 5 other guys that are there too that also want to play. You just have to be able to bring them together. And so one of my goals is always being able to unify all the players. That's why it was so great getting the phone book together. That's a wonderful initiative. I think that's so great. That way they can stop pinging me all across the internet. Please feel free. I'll definitely help out. Oh my God, you kidding me? Google search. I will literally Google like Memphis Armada just to see if I can find a guy at home. And then half the time I find another dude who's playing in some random Discord server that I just infiltrate and say, hey, any Armada players here that are interested? That's how I think we set up that's how we got a whole Tennessee chapter going. Now there's a group in Tennessee with a bunch of guys that and they're playing, because I think some random guy said, hey, anyone out there that plays in the area? And I'm like, I don't know, let me go find a bunch of people that do. And then we did. And then, we went until, I asked the Atlanta players, and they were like, yeah, I think there's a few guys there. And so I talked to them, and then now they have their own Discord, which is phenomenal. Those players are out there. You guys are not alone. I guarantee you there's another guy that is like, 20 miles away, but he's willing to do the driving. Or there's another girl that lives like maybe 3 communities over, and she's willing to meet up with you and play. Unity is going to be what keeps us strong. Unity is going to be what keeps us together, and unity is going to be what drives this community forward and hopefully keeps us alive.
All right, Mack.
So, yeah. At the end of the day, I think the big thing is, my closing thoughts are to keep playing, obviously. Go to events, go to your local whatever, support people who are doing cool things, and to keep your chin up. A lot of folks have been, they were sad when AMG took over. People were sad when FFG released the Onager, or when, squads got nerfed, or when Armada 2.0 came out, or when the Clone Wars came out. There's been so many, oh my god, the game's dead moments. The number of times I can screen cap people complaining that the game is over. We're still here. We're going to still be here in a million years. Like, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Armada outlasts Legion and X-Wing and all that. No shame to you guys. We're just suckers for punishment. Like, you can't get rid of us. We're going to be here. We're going to keep playing the game. And so we just need to support each other and make the game fun and keep the community alive. So if you see something online that you like, support it. If you see people taking an initiative to make something cool, support it. Be part of it. Be part of a positive community that's going to grow and continue. Don't be somebody who's just crying that things are over. Like, no offense, but it is what it is. Just have a good time and play the game, or move along.
Doty?
They also said almost everything. Yet again.
I should have started with you.
No. It's okay. Let me think about that for a second. Yeah, I agree.
You can go on if you want more time. Just let us know.
No, okay, yeah. No, I'd agree with Mac. Keep your chin up. Things are not all doom and gloom. There are so many things happening. I don't have much time to actually play Armada anymore. I spend most of my time making tools for other people, and to me, that's fulfilling. I have a lot of fun doing that. But there are still so many people interested in this game, or interested even just in the models. I know, like, most of the Etsy shops their sales have been going up, even though attendance has gone down. Clearly, there are people out there buying stuff. Because I don't know where these 10,000 sales are coming from, if not. So there are a lot of players. Even heck, just look at Tabletop Simulator. The original Palladium mod has like 150,000 downloads or something like that. Where are those guys? Clearly they have it. They've downloaded it. They've at least played it once. So they're out there. Like Max said, there are players. And you have to reach them. Ask Steve. That's actually what I did a little while back. So yeah, and as far as making things, if making things is what interests you, if at some point playing is fun, I'll absolutely agree. The game is the game, but if you like making stuff for other people, do that. There is definitely room for that. There are always people. Heck, if you're an artist, please call me. I'm only okay at Photoshop. I'm a noob. I'm getting a little better. So like there's always people interested in, and you don't have to participate by going to every tournament or I think the Aluminum Falcon article you were talking about was the Fleet in Being one, about the players that play maybe 2 to 12 times a year. They aren't really on a lot of Discords. They mostly probably play on Kitchen Table. They maybe aren't keeping up to date with all the newest things. They may still be using the old mini cards because that's what they had.
Those mini cards are better.
I still use the mini cards, and I refuse to upgrade. So I'm sorry, all my fleets are wrong. Get over it.
I kept derailing the conversation.
No, that's okay. Just like there are clearly people playing, there are still people that are interested. you don't have to participate by playing. You can make things for other people, and that's just as fun. That's how I get my enjoyment nowadays. And yeah, that's kind of all I got.
Well, thank
Couldn't
you.
agree with Doty more.
Thank you so much for being on the show tonight, guys. This has been really, really great. A lot of great input. And thank you for keeping the game going and keeping the community alive. All right. So with that, I want to thank you guys for watching. I feel like it's been a really, really great show. Let's go be toxic in our discords. Yeah. But thank you again for watching the show. Keep in mind, we do a show every other week. So if you're new to the channel, which I had a lot of people showing up for the first time, and I want to thank you for that. This week is going to be a little bit weird. Normally I have Mid-Rim Mayhem on Thursday, so you can actually watch a live game being played. Unfortunately, this week I have a 3 to 11 shift on Thursday, so I will not be able to do Mid-Rim Mayhem. Apologies for that, but keep in touch. Stay along with that. Thank you, Dr. Blackwell. I appreciate that greatly. With that, I am going to say good night, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful evening.